What's up YouTube, it's ZapdosTCG here, and episode 6 is all about Absol Prime. Absol Prime is a regular basic Pokemon. His HP is only 80, which is pretty low, and he can't evolve as well. So what makes this card such a big deal then? Well, it's due to his Pokebody and his fast attack. His Pokebody is called Eye of Disaster, and it states, as long as Absol is your active Pokemon, whenever your opponent puts a basic Pokemon from his or her hand onto his or her bench, he or she puts 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. This could work very effective if your opponent doesn't have too many Pokemon on his or her bench. That means every time when you have an Absol Prime as your active Pokemon and your opponent places a Pokemon on his or her bench, they automatically receive 2 damage counters. That leaves almost all basic Pokemon with a really low HP, so they will be easy to knock out, like Magikarps or Hoppip for example. They would have only 10 HP left, which is pretty awesome, cause you can get rid of those with cards like Kingdra Prime or Mandibuzz, but I'll talk about those 2 bad boys in a second. So if we look back at Absol, we see that he can also deal high damage as well. His attack Vicious Claw deals 70 damage for a Darkness Energy and a Colorless Energy, which is really good in this format. The only side effect is that you can only use this attack if you put 1 Pokemon from your hand and put it in the Lost Zone. So Absol Prime can work very good with Mew Prime, because Mew Prime's Pokebody states he can use all of the attacks of all Pokemon in the Lost Zone, both yours and your opponent's, but you still need the necessary energies though. So yeah, the plan is to get a Pokemon in the Lost Zone with Absol's attack that is hard to get out, like a Stage 1 or Stage 2 Pokemon. Then Mew Prime can use the powerful attack of the Pokemon you put in the Lost Zone. Now you may think, hey wait, if I put a Pokemon in the Lost Zone, wouldn't that help my opponent if he uses the Lost Guard deck? Well, actually no. Absol Prime can get rid of all the Gengar Primes and Mew Primes, because he's a Darkness type and Gengar is weak to Darkness, and Mew only has 60 HP, so yeah. And because Absol is a Darkness Pokemon, you can also boost his attack power with special Darkness energies, which can raise his maximum power quite a bit. Because a special Darkness energy states, when you give this special energy card to one of your Darkness Pokemon, each of his attacks deals 10 more damage. So if you give Absol 2 or 3 of those for example, he deals 90 damage or even 100. And if you combine that with Kingdra's Pokepower, you can get rid of all the Unmegas that were bugging you. Get it? Now let's take a closer look at Kingdra Prime. You already know from previous episodes that Kingdra puts 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon each turn with his Pokebody Power Splash. That makes him a perfect partner for Absol Prime, just because both put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. And you can also put in a regular rare Kingdra in the deck because of his sniping capability on his first attack. And while I'm talking about sniping capabilities, you might want to put in these 2 cards as well, just because these 2 can also snipe really good. First up we have Mandibuzz from Black and White. Mandibuzz's first attack is called Blindside and snipes a Pokemon of your choice for 50 damage for just 1 Darkness Energy. The only thing the Pokemon you're sniping has to have is at least 1 damage counter on him, which can't be any problem if you're using Absol Prime or Kingdra Prime. Next we have Crobat Prime. He can also snipe Pokemon for 30 damage with his second attack, and an even better thing about this card is his first attack. It states the defending Pokemon is now poisoned, put 4 damage counters instead of 1 between turns. This can be deadly if that Pokemon already has damage counters on it, and you can always switch Crobat next turn due to his free retreat. Now another great card is Zoroark, again from the Black and White set. You can also put him in the deck if you're up against Stage 1, Stage 2 or maybe a Legend Pokemon that deals a lot of damage, simply because Absol Prime just can't handle these guys. So Zoroark helps him out with a second attack called Foul Play. With this attack you can use all of your opponent active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack, and you don't even have to have the necessary energies to use the attack, but all effects of the attack still count. So if you have a fire energy attached to your Zoroark for example, and the effect states discard a fire energy, you have to do that. But if you don't have any energies attached that must be discarded, you can use the attack without having to care about the discarding effect. So Zoroark is a really good counter card in tight situations. Now the thing I haven't discussed yet are trainer cards that work really well with Absol Prime in the deck. Well, first up is Seeker. This card can work really good at the beginning of the game if your opponent has already Pokemon on his bench. With this card you and your opponent both have to put a bench Pokemon back to your hand. So when it's your opponent's move, they'll probably have to bench that Pokemon again. And if you have Absol Prime as your active Pokemon, they are sure to receive 2 damage counters due to Absol's Pokebody. Another great card is Judge, which lets you and your opponent shuffle your hand into your deck and then both draw 4 cards. This is a really great card because if your opponent draws any basic Pokemon, they'll probably think twice about benching it, due to Absol's Pokebody again. The next 2 trainer cards are Pokemon Reversal and Pokemon Circulator. Pokemon Reversal states, flip a coin. If heads, switch the defending Pokemon with one of your opponent's benched Pokemon of your choice. This card is going to be replaced pretty soon by Pokemon Catcher of the new emerging power set, because it has the same effect except for the coin flip. So yeah, And now to Pokemon Circulator, this does the exact same thing, but with this card, your opponent chooses the new defending Pokemon instead of yourself. Now the strategy to these cards is to pull a Pokemon with damage counters on the active spot to knock him out. With Absol you damage the basic Pokemon first when they are being benched, and then you pull them to the active spot and knock them out before they can evolve to a more powerful Pokemon. And the last trainer cards on my list I'd put in the deck are Rare Candy, Energy Exchanger, because with this card you can put an energy card from your hand into your deck and then search your deck for any energy card you like. That way you can bring out the special darkness energies really fast. Plus Power for the extra damage in case you don't have any special darkness energies at the moment, or when you do have them and you still want to reach for more damage, and a switch just in case you're stuck in a bad situation. And that's it for this episode. As always, you can post your comments, questions or suggestions for the next episode in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This was ZapdosTCG. Thanks for watching. Till next time.